Nigeria prepares to hold the 7th consecutive general elections as the country returned to democracy in 1998. There are key issues that can shape the quality and credibility of the polls, from tribal, religious, violence, insecurity, abuse of electoral process by INEC staff, political intimidation, and the challenges of logistics. The signposts and indicators are ripe with unwavering tide of danger and unease. To many, these are the critical issues that make or mar Nigeria's 2023 presidential election. Given past experiences and trajectories, it is not certain if Africa's biggest democracy can overcome this potential obstacle, laying in wait for the voters' count. Welcome to Sahara TV, State to the Nation, and with us, we have Comrade Onyinye-Gandhi, the African Action Congress AAC presidential spokesperson. It's a pleasure to have you on Sahara TV again, sir.
It's my pleasure to be with you, my brother. Thank you.
Let me first get your reaction on the recent trending issue and your party's position on the recent gruesome murder of Barrister Ibrahim Bolanle, an innocent lawyer, and an expected murder by a trigger-happy Nigerian police officer in Lagos, which has generated a lot of reactions from Nigerians across the tide. A sad reminder to say of the fact that Nigerian police haven't learned any lessons from the NSAS uprising. What must be done to end the culture of impunity by the Nigerian police and end the system of impunity that continues to is being used to murder innocent Nigerians? Your reaction, please.
Oh, yes, please. That particular incident and many others, quite frankly, around the country, we consider very, very tragic. And at this point, I'd like to express our heartfelt condolences to the family affected, but also to hundreds, if not thousands, of the families across the country whose loved ones have been plucked off the face of this earth by security agents that are meant to protect them. Now, you would recall that our party, we have said this on several occasions, rose up in defense of the rights of Nigerians, their dignity to exist in space, their country. And part of that defense is to ensure lives of the average Nigerian people, or the life of the average Nigerian, counts for something. That they are not plucked off the streets, they are not by kidnappers, they are not shot by policemen, communities are not raided by soldiers. If you remember the last time we had this, I brought up that issue, because that's also something that goes without any sort of public outcry. Bolanle's murder was a long time coming. In 2020, Nigerian youths rose up to protest, police brutality and other problems within the system. Yeah. That protest shook the nation to its foundations, and we were very much part of that protest, and we supported. As a matter of fact, we helped to, engineer the protests and mobilize Nigerians. The issues that protest sought to address are still very much here. The Nigerian police, how are they trained? What is the orientation? What is their relationship with the people they are meant to protect? The police officer who shot the lawyer, take aside the fact that she's a lawyer, she's a Nigerian. Take her professional. She's a Nigerian. She's a human being. Now, why would you set your gun on a person, a citizen of that country, and then murder her? I'll tell you why. Because the police are removed from the society they are meant to protect. They live in barracks. The Nigerian people live in particular areas. The Nigerian police, the Nigerian military are housed somewhere else. Now that creates an artificial disconnect between the citizens and those who are meant to protect them. So that the regular security agents, even those from the civil defense and vigilante, they have this sort of highfalutin regard for themselves. They call themselves above the other Nigerian. And that's why the African National Congress has said that will come to an end. As a party, we are going to abolish police barracks. We are going to abolish military barracks. policemen will live within the communities that they are meant to protect. They are going to be drawn from amongst Nigerians. And we're going to completely revolutionize the whole concept of policing. It will not represent an agency meant to keep the Nigerian people in line. No, it will be an agency that draws its legitimacy from within Nigerian communities, that has oversight and monitoring boards in Nigerian communities, and that has a primary responsibility, a sole purpose, to protect Nigerians. One other thing we will do, and if you go through our constitution, our manifesto, which is the most comprehensive of all the manifestos out there, you will see that we said we're going to create a human rights desk at every police station across the country. This human rights desk is meant to check the internal operations of the police themselves, but more importantly, to conscientize, educate, and constantly keep on toes policemen so that they understand their oneness with the Nigerian people, as opposed to, looking towards them as victims on whom to prey. One final thing, please, we have to do. Policemen themselves are human beings. They're Nigerians. And we acknowledge the fact that despite the massive corruption within the force, the poor training, the poor incentives, and how very terribly they do their jobs, these things draw directly from how they are remunerated, from how they are trained, from that they live. So how much are they paid? Can they send their when the Nigerian government has refused to fund education? If they fall sick, can they afford health care? And that is why in our programs, we have said, okay, we're not just pushing to hold policemen, military men and women accountable for how they deal and relate with our citizens. We also want to make their lives, as Nigerians, because they're also Nigerians, we want to make their lives better. We're going to improve their working conditions. To be a member of the force will not just be a thing for you to pay bills. You will take pride in the fact that you're helping to protect your countrymen and women. We're going to make sure that when they leave the barracks, they don't have to live in government quarters for all of their lives. They will be able to build their own homes. They can afford to send their children to school. They can afford healthcare. We will make sure that policing in the 21st century in Nigeria is a global standard by others to copy, and they will stop killing.
Now, let's also get your reactions on the recent action of the Inspector General of Police, who had condemned the actions of the trigger-happy police officer and had called for his suspension at this moment. How would your party have handled this situation differently?
Well, we are supposed to be a nation of laws. When you extrajudicially murder a citizen, there are legal consequences. Now, without any evidence to the contrary, what we saw, the reports, the witnesses, and all the evidence that are publicly available suggests that the man publicly executed that citizen. That is murder. All right. And Nigerian laws, the Nigerian Criminal Code is very, very unequivocal about the provisions for that. So the policeman should be summarily dismissed, tried for that offense, and of course, justice should be meted out. Nobody should try and sweep this under the carpet. We're not going to let that happen because we're watching them very closely. Any attempt to ensure that this woman, this does not get justice, will be resisted by us. We've done that in the past, and we have the capacity to do it.
As general elections campaigns are ongoing at the moment, and a lot of Nigerians are asking questions of the African Action Congress with regards to its campaigns. Not much are the same with regards to rallies like other political parties have done. And your party, the African Action Congress, prides itself as a real masses and people-oriented political party in Nigeria today. How true is this assertion at this point in time? And in what ways do your party justify this claim?
Go to the streets and talk to Nigerians. You see, we as a party, we can hold rallies. We are, as we have always said, the only mass-based political party in the country. If we hold a rally in a place like Lagos, you won't find a place to fit the number of supporters we're going to draw. But we have a particular strategy that we're implementing regarding this campaign. We are conducting outreach to the people of Nigeria. We're not organizing shows, televised drama intended to hoodwink, to deceive, to cajole the Nigerian people. We are of volunteers who are knocking on doors, who are engaging Nigerians on the streets, who are going to, schools, universities. As a matter of fact, our presidential candidate started his tour of universities today, where they can be found. We are not buying them or paying them to come and assemble at stadiums where, by the way, their lives could be at risk, given how very poorly security agencies manage, crowd in Nigeria. So we are reaching out to the markets. So just take a walk around any street and ask of what the African National Congress is doing, and you will see that the fact that we haven't held a rally is itself a strategic decision. And at the end of the day, that is not going to affect our fortunes in the coming elections. And we have nothing against rallies, by the way. We do not. It's just not our strategy for prosecuting the current campaign.
So a large section of the Nigerian masses are actually not attuned to the message of your party at the moment. I mean, as some claim. And ahead of the 2020 general elections, what is your party doing beyond just knocking on doors and reaching out to the grassroots in order to get the message of your party to the grassroots?
They are attuned to the message. I'll give you an example. In 2019, we said we're going to pay 100,000 naira as minimum wage. A lot of people, contested that. Today, the Labour Party has adopted that program. Where do you think they got it from? So not only are the Nigerian people listening, our opponents are also listening, and they are listening and copying us, quite frankly. Now, most of the other things that we have brought, to the front burner, listen to their campaigns, read their programs. These are essentially copyright infringements. These are ideas we've been talking about, for several years now. So we are confident that if the opponents can hear us, if these other bourgeois political parties are actually copying our programs, then they are listening to those programs, and they are listening to the Nigerian people who themselves have adopted those programs and have found those programs, very popular. Look, let me say this. There's a tendency, really, in a political environment like Nigeria, where everything is monetized, to look at, those who are carrying out real person-to-person campaigns as underdogs, as having no chance in the electoral process. We're not running a campaign of, billions of naira. We're not bribing voters. We actually don't have those resources. Our campaign is funded from, small donations, 1 naira, 5 naira, 10 naira, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 naira from ordinary Nigerians. So in that space, there is that temptation to look at us as, underdogs. And that's fine. That's actually a status that we primarily enjoy. But what we assure onlookers and the Nigerian people is that we're taking this process very seriously. And in the circumstance, of course, the best we can do, aside strategizing, is to take that message of total liberation, revolutionary transformation of Nigeria to the Nigerian people. Now, we're very confident they're listening to us. It's convincing the hearts and minds of our people is certainly not an easy thing, not in an environment where poverty has been weaponized against them, where sometimes they see the worst amongst us as the best amongst us, where sometimes, because of poverty, they tend to hero worship, common thieves and criminals. So we acknowledge the fact that it's not going to be easy to get through. But it is a job we're willing to do. It's a job we're committed to, doing. And we're doing it very well. And if you take proper, unbiased polling of the average Nigerian today who has encountered our programs, who has encountered our candidate, you will see that we're making significant inroads. And we're very confident that the outcome of the elections will prove that.
With regards to wages, recently, the federal government says it will soon make a pronouncement on salary increase for civil servants in order to meet up with the realities of the recent economy. What do you say to that?
Well, we welcome them, to the table. They are a little bit late anyway, but these increments should have been done 10 years ago. All right, the Nigerian worker has been at the receiving end of some of the most atrocious policies of any government anywhere in the world. Now, you will notice that inflation rate, and by the way, that's not a figure that we agree with, but it's double digits, actually pretty close to 20% now. The rate of inflation has outpaced the rate of rise of living wages, actually ordinary wages of the Nigerian people. So what it does from an economic standpoint is that it suppresses purchasing power. And when inflation runs ahead of people's capacity to purchase, poverty is the natural outcome, and that is why you saw that in that short space of time, from Mr. Buhari's entry into Aso Rock to this point, Nigeria has dramatically moved very quickly to become the poverty capital of the world. So we welcome the increment, but the point is that they should be very transparent and open. How much are they paying? What are they proposing? All right. In 2019, we proposed 100,000. We are no longer proposing 100,000. As we're going to review how much we're going to pay on the basis of current economic realities. What with the 100,000 we're even proposing now is for Nigerian universities, because we believe that 100,000 naira per semester for students will not only help solve, their study situation, ease their study situation, help their education, but we believe that when you directly transfer cash into the hands of Nigerians, be they students, be they workers, they don't take those cash to foreign banks, they don't launder them, they spend them within the local economies. And if you know anything about economics, when you empower people financially, they rejig the local economy. The average student is able to buy what he needs in the nearby markets, the nearby store. So the vendor sells more. The vendor's business rises, the vendor is able to hire one or two people. Now, we actually argue against that. When we fund our living wages, give students grants, make education free, things like that, when they pay or when they spend money in the traditional market and help businesses grow, the young man and woman who would have taken to armed robbery or kidnapping is then hired by the business that is prospering. So you've not only solved an economic problem, you're also solving the security problem in that one chain. All right. So we welcome that, but we suspect that it's another ploy, perhaps to hoodwink Nigerian workers. The African National Congress consistently has been the only platform that has presented to the Nigerian worker, the Nigerian people, what we believe is the standard for their existence. Proper pay for their labor, benefits for their terms, so that they don't have to look towards stealing public funds. We have always stood with them, even in the barricades. When they are fired from their jobs, our party protests. We are the protest party. So we bring that protest against the current system into government, and we are assuring them that whatever the current government promises them in terms of increment of wages, we suspect that that's not going to solve the problem. Only an AAC platform would deliver the results that they need.
We'll still get to ask you more questions with regards to some of this your interventionist program, which you've outlined. But there is this question both in the minds of some Nigerians with regards to your candidature. There is actually an appetite for an outsider. Some of the opinion that your candidate does not have the experience in governance and hadn't come up through a traditional path, for instance. So do you think there is no value to previous political experience when seeking higher office in Nigeria?
No, there's not. This is not to discount experience in total. All right, but experience is supposed to be positive. If you're supposed to be a positive a situation that you're helping, we should be able to measure that experience by certain metrics. All right, we should see that when juxtaposed with somebody who is relatively unexperienced, your intervention has been able to bring results. But from let's take the last 23 years. Let's leave 1960. From 1999 down to this point, Olusegun Obasanjo was head of state. All right, had experience in leadership, was internationally acclaimed. Then these were his selling points. Elected in 1999, wanted over the nation for 8 years. $16 billion were spent. Nigeria still left in darkness. Now, if you see those experience in 1999, by 2007, when he was leaving power, you now see that experience didn't count for much. Really a fraud, if you will. Good luck Ebele Jonathan, because Umaru Musa Yar'Adua had a short stint. Good luck Ebele Jonathan came in. Well, the argument, I remember the campaign very well. The deputy governor, he had been governor, he'd been a lecturer, he'd been vice president. He had all of this experience. All right. Now he came in. The only remarkable thing I remember that was done under his term was that they essentially reduced the economy. Computing aspects of the economy not counted in the traditional economic metrics, and that led to Nigeria overtaking South Africa, as the largest economy in the world. But the poverty of Nigerians was not reduced. He didn't build any new universities. He didn't fund education. The crisis that ASU, the education sector in total, started during the Obasanjo years when he was playing hanky-panky with education, completely subservient and slavish to IMF and World Bank policies. He was more interested in being loved and liked and honored abroad than fixing actual problems for the Nigerian people. So good luck in Village, Jonathan, and then into Olusegun Obasanjo. So Jonathan continued from that Obasanjo's failure, and his experience in Buhari, who had been politically dead, suddenly looked attractive. That showed how badly Jonathan performed. Muhammadu Buhari has always been a sectional, clannish politician. His utterances in public life, have always, depicted. But Jonathan was so bad for the Nigerian state that the APC propaganda somehow put a very flawed Mr. Buhari as the savior. And 7 years down the line, despite his experience, because he was a former, we've seen that he's become a complete disaster. So if you made that argument to me in 1999, and you made it to me in 2007, you made it to me in 2011, you made it to me in 2014, are you seriously going to make that same argument to me in 2023? So we do not really discount experience, but we're saying that the current politicians in Nigeria who are bandying experience point have nothing to. Their experience has left the nation in the dark. We have 133 million people in poverty. People are living below $1, per day. Corruption has skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, taking money from the Nigerian treasury has become one of the easiest ways to get rich anywhere in the world. And finally, insecurity has literally overtaken the entire place. Our people can no longer stay in their homes. So this experience doesn't count for much. The experience we bring, please, is the experience of constant agitation, the experience of understanding, immersing ourselves in the experiences of our people. Experience we bring. That's the experience that the Nigerian people know. We have seen their poverty. We have been part of their poverty. We do not seek to take advantage of that poverty, that we seek to partner with them to fix that poverty. Omoyele Sowore brings to the table. Remember, we've said here before that at the individual level, he's entrepreneurially, he's been very successful. But beyond that, he's also done so much to ensure that the rights of our people, are held up. And it is that experience of standing with Nigerians in the most difficult circumstances that we think Nigeria needs at this time, not the experience of stealing from them.
Now, let me also get your view on this. Let's get down to it. Will you say that the AAC's presidential candidate has all it takes to defeat the PDP, APC, and Labour Party presidential candidates who are being seen as being formidable, and considering the fact that they are from geopolitical zones where they have strongholds? What is your party doing to ensure that AAC wins in these states where these political parties have strong stalwarts with larger followership?
Well, we are very honest with ourselves, and we're usually very honest with people. I have said earlier that it's not an easy task. You've got to appreciate the mess in which the country has found itself. And the state of the nation will most definitely rub off on the people who live within the country. And that's why we have consistently maintained they are of a very ruthless, lazy, ambitious, visionless oligarchy that has continued to fritter away, resources. So these oligarchs over time have concentrated significant wealth in their own hands. And with this wealth, they have compromised, the ability to acquire power. So literally, they now buy power. Sometimes they just impose whoever they want on the Nigerian people want it or not. So yes, that we're against them and we're trying to stop them this time around is certainly Herculean, and we appreciate that. But we're ready. We're ready. The only concern we have in this process really is INEC's readiness to conduct free and fair and credible polls. And I know you're going to come to that, but let me just touch it a little bit. You see, the Nigerian people know what they want. All right. Elections have been compromised over and over in Nigeria, so that today, sometimes you really don't know who actually won the elections. In 2019, for example, we were allotted 30,000 votes, despite the fact that millions of young people across the country, were rooting for us and wanted actual change. Now, in 2022, certain changes were made. So we believe that in 2023 general elections, with the new Electoral Act and the introduction of BVAS, technology is going to help bring certain transparency into the system. But again, technology is administered by human beings. So everything comes down to INEC's readiness. If INEC stays a neutral umpire and conducts free, credible polls, Nigerians have secure environments, devoid of intimidation, and can freely express their will. We're going to match these oligarchs. We're going to meet them wherever it is they want to meet us. We're going to match them force for force. We're not going to match them money for money. But we're not going out to bribe the Nigerian people. We're going to convince the Nigerian people. But we are very confident that we're going to match them with whatever it is they're bringing. And quite frankly, you will be shocked that many of them will be dethroned. All right. I said the last time we spoke that one of the tools they use is to create the impression that, politics is fair for the initiates, if you will. So there's something unique and complex about it, very complicated. And we said, no, it is not. Politics is actually about, a contest for the hearts and minds. And to be able to win in that contest, you've got to look at what your opponents are doing and how the people are reacting to that. Now, for the past 6 election cycles, they have bought votes. They have rigged elections. They have orchestrated violence. Nigerians understand that. Nigerians know their tricks. Nigerians see exactly what they do, that they offer them 5,000, 10,000, then abandon them for 4 years. We're very convinced, and we're getting this from the interactions that we're having with ordinary voters, that this time around is going to be no vote buying is going to fly. But that's a criminal offense and should be dealt with. But no vote buying is going to fly. And we feel that in this environment, in this atmosphere, and with the realization of Nigerians that the African National Congress, the only truly representative party for them, on whose platform they can start taking, we're going to beat the oligarchs. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And if they rig the elections, because I have to add this, if they rig the elections, if they manipulate the process, they'll be shooting themselves, on the foot. Is a rescue mission, not just for the Nigerian people, but also for the Nigerian oligarchs. We have to warn them because sometimes people do not understand where their true interests lie. There is a time bomb. And now they can't see this because they've stolen so much and they water themselves in, mansions and defend themselves off. But when you have a social explosion, sort that is brewing at the bottom, across the nation, no high wall is going to be able to protect. As a matter of fact, when you run to the airport to try and flee, you are going to be caught in the web. Let them allow the people to exercise their free will and put in place a system and a party that can represent them. If they rig the process, we're going to return to the streets, but the Nigerian people themselves will take care of them. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Let me just, we're almost running out of time, as a matter of fact, and you've actually touched much on the issue of INEC preparedness as far as that's concerned. Earlier on, you mentioned the APC propaganda machinery, and we've seen it at work, at play, with their present candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Just recently, we had that the G5 governors, so to say, unquote, some of them have adopted this candidature, and that they are of the opinion that the numbers are in support of their candidates coming out as victorious as far as this election is concerned. Questions are raised as to Bola Ahmed Tinubu's ability to perform with regards to his mental ability and other issues with regards to his health and the other things. He has even refused to address the Nigerians with regards to being interviewed. What are your views on this and the actions of the APC propaganda machinery so far?
Well, they succeeded in 2010. They got elected. In 2019, they rigged the elections. They didn't win the elections. They rigged that process. In 2023, it's going to be an entirely different ballgame. Now we understand when you have cornered so much resources to yourself as the APC politician, especially Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the biggest landlord in Africa, actually rated amongst perhaps one of the richest politicians anywhere in the world. When you have such obscene amount of public money that you've cornered, it is understandable that you feel some sort of mafia boss. You feel like a lord. You can do and undo. But history has consistently shown that the people are the final repository. Just when you list it, you will be taught a bitter political lesson. We believe that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not fit to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, both on moral and grounds of competence. He's totally bankrupt. There's never been a man against whom you have so many unresolved allegations in politics as Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And rather than resolve these allegations, sometimes he either runs away from them or he tries to, fabricate documents and responses in order to get away. Almost everything about the man is shady. But more importantly, he's a very dangerous personality for the United States. Now, if you see what he has done in Lagos, just imagine implementing across board. We hear the very funny argument that he transformed Lagos. He has changed Lagos. No, he hasn't done. A tax master. He's a tax collector. What he has done is that he hasn't created wealth for the Nigerian people of Lagos State, but he has found ways of inserting his unclean hands into their pockets from their daily toils. And he has collected so much that he considers himself above them. As I think he once boasted that he's even richer than one of our states in the Southwest. That's what. So we understand that for public office, from a moral standpoint, from a standpoint of competence, the man has done nothing. The resources available to Lagos on the continent. Lagos should not just in 2022 be installing a monorail system and everybody's jumping right, left, and center. Lagos should have had the monorail system as soon as Bola Ahmed Tinubu entered in 1999, because the resources were there. Now, what is the funding for education in Lagos? We have over 2 million children out of school in Bola Tinubu's Lagos. The traffic situation, is one of the worst anywhere in the country. I mean, you've seen that. And Lagos, by the way, you understand, has had a start compared to most other parts of the country because of the presence there. A lot of the industry, thanks to Chief Obafemi Awolowo's industrialization policy back in the western region, a lot of the industries in the country, most of the corporate entities are quartered in Lagos. So Lagos has an edge. The fact that Lagos remains a glorified in 2022, all right? Actually almost 2 decades after Tinubu left office, and he can confidently boast with that state as his greatest achievement, tells you all you need to know about the man. But outside of him, the so-called G5, what does it mean? What's G5? What's that? Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, the governor of Enugu State, a complete failure. The people of Enugu have not been poorer than they are today. Education in Enugu State is in shambles. ESUT, the state-run university, is a glorified, not even secondary school. The man has failed to protect, the state, despite collecting, billions of naira in so-called security votes. Just, some days ago, we heard of the killings in Enugu community. Most, certainly more than 30 or 40 people, dead in that incident. And that has been a recurrent situation. Now, rather than this individual addressing the concerns of his people, he's running around with instead of unserious politicians like himself, saying he's G5. What's the meaning of G5? That's nonsense. I don't think Nigerian people are paying attention. I think they're very, this is a comment. And we're going to take it for, the value that it brings, which is, a comic relief. In Abia State, perhaps the worst governor was the man who said hot rice from women selling food on the street was destroying the very poor roads that he was building. Aba a great city with some of the best entrepreneurs on the continent is perhaps the worst run place anywhere in Africa. Just take a visit to it's literally a slum, as dirty as a pigsty. The man has not paid workers, living wage. The educational institutions that he oversees are in very horrible state. The man has no business being a governor, but he is a governor. And rather than address the issues that are ailing the people of Abia State, he's busy running around with starting Onyinye-Gandhi and trying to call it G5. So we understand that. Move over to Autumn from Benue State. I'm not going to take too much of this individual. So I'm just picking them one after the other, just to show you the comical characters that these individuals are. Autumn has been shouting from right, left, center over the killings in Benue State, and rightly so. But outside of the failure of the Buhari-led federal government to take steps, there are internal initiatives we believe that Autumn could institute to begin to protect people in Benue. Autumn is not doing that. He's wasting money belonging to the people, running to London and host useless meetings over who becomes the next president. That's a real shame. Now, yes, some wicked the head of the so-called G5. All right, the man goes around the country seeing himself as some sort of small god, but his tenure is soon going to be over, and we are going to find out exactly how powerful he is as a god. Politics sometimes makes these Nigerian politicians, to raise themselves into the sphere. Then a few years after office, you start seeing them shouting, I'm in severe pain. We hope that doesn't become his lot. Now he is all over the place. Money belonging to the people of Rivers State. You heard some time ago, almost 400 billion naira from his state's accountant general. The reason why we believe he hasn't been directly mentioned is because a proper investigation has not been conducted. But we see how he puts money around, like a young Santa Claus. He gives women musicians money today. He goes to Lagos. He gives all this money tomorrow. He does all of these things there. You need to be filled in Rivers State. What are his investments in education? What are his investments in infrastructure? Yeah, build renal center. Well, what's the meaning of that? Renal center. How many people are in Rivers State? How many people are going to take advantage of the renal center? Build a law school, things like that. So, to bring it all together, please. These individuals are not to be taken seriously. I have to be very, very serious with you. They are seeking political survival. They are making their own final decisions because of how we believe they have compromised themselves in terms of public integrity. They are trying to see where they can pitch their tent so that when the next government comes in, they will not be held to account. But we think that the Nigerian people can see through this nonsense, and the G5 or G3 or their numbers will not have any sway on how they.
Comrade Onyinye-Gandhi, the African Action Congress presidential spokesperson. It's a pleasure to always have you on Sahara TV. Thank you so much for your insightful perspective.